Hi everyone, I'm back with another edition of the American Chess Magazine puzzle calendar. Let's get into the puzzles. This was the puzzle for Thursday, April 6th. It was composed by Bugos Pilizewski in the year 2021. Again, all the puzzles in this series are white to move, mate in 2. If you want to try to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. So for me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 4 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 5 out of 5. So first of all, of course, this position is kind of ridiculous. Black has one king left and white has literally like all their pieces or something. So here, because white really does want to mate in exactly 2 moves, it's important to look at black's escape squares. Currently, the king is relatively trapped. It cannot go onto any of the light squares, and this e3 is also cut off. So black mainly has 3 squares that we need to watch out for. The ones that I'm highlighting here, c5, c3, and e5. So then what I did in this position was just really imagine how we could potentially set up a mate against each of these. Against king c5, queen to d6 would be checkmate. I'll just highlight the square. On king to e5, then potentially queen to f4 would be mate. And if king to c3, then queen to d2 would be checkmate. So, unhighlight one of these. So what I need to do is figure out a square to move the queen that can go to all of these squares on the next turn, and that square is queen to h6. Now king to c5, we just do all the mates that we demonstrated before. King e5 fails to queen f4, king c3 fails to queen d2, and here white does have to pay attention to the fact that they allowed black 2 new escape squares. King d3 though allows queen e3, and king to d5 allows queen to e3 checkmate. So in this position, it's really about seeing all the squares that white's queen needs to go to in the future. And also it's a bit difficult because there's so many other moves that you have to consider. This was the puzzle for Friday, April 7th. It was composed by Ralph Alizovazde in the year 2021. Again, if you want to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. So for me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 1 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 4.5 out of 5. I jumped onto the right answer immediately, just knight c2, cutting the king's escape square off and threatening rook to b4 checkmate. Black's pawn is blockaded, so they cannot unleash their bishop to guard the square. Black literally has no defense against this checkmate. I guess other moves you could maybe try are like rook b7 to potentially threaten rook a7 checkmate, but after c2, that's the problem, because now if rook a7, then black can simply block with the bishop. I guess the right way to look at this, the right thought process to get onto knight c2, is that black can always block, which is really annoying, so white needs to stop that by blockading the pawn. This was the puzzle for this weekend, April 8th through 9th. It was composed by Yves Ceylan in the year 1981. Again, if you want to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. So for me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 10 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 5 out of 5. So here in this position, it's very crazy, of course. All of the pieces are just kind of randomly placed about. The main problem is that black's king always has this escape square, so c8 knight was definitely very attractive for me. But of course, the problem is that king e6, and white can't really touch the king on e6, which is really annoying. In this starting position, I then tried to find a way to try guard this e6 square, but it's impossible because, for example, bishop takes d7, black simply takes back, and if knight f7, black takes, there's nothing really for black to worry about here because, again, this e6 square is always very easy for black's king to run away to. There's not many other ways for white to try to control e6. This queen nicely guards the rook, so if rook takes, just queen takes, and black has nothing to worry about. So I thought, well, why not try to maybe blockade this queen? Knight f7 check, I considered this, but the bishop just takes. Now black even controls the back rank, so there's no promotion stuff, so this doesn't work either. And then I kind of got stuck for a really long time. But then I'm like, well, why not just try the most obvious move, c8 queen? And what's really nice about this move is that after king e6, white has queen takes d5. If the rook moves, then white has knight to c4 checkmate, because the queen is now controlling e6. If knight somewhere, then queen to b6 is mate. If after c8 queen, if bishop b4, then white is always threatening queen to c6 checkmate. So I thought this was the answer. But then it turns out that black has rook takes e7, which is really annoying because knight c4 is checkmate, except it's not because black's pinning the knight to the king. Except for this one very annoying detail, white would be giving mate in 2. So unfortunately, it's not c8 queen. Then I'm like, oh, actually, here you can play rook e3. Now the idea is after king e6, knight c4, knight c4 will allow rook e5, so white has to play knight f7, which is discovered checkmate. The knight covers this d6 square, and the rook gives check to the king. This rook cannot block because white's queen is pinning the rook to the king. And if black doesn't do anything else, then white is threatening knight to c4 checkmate. If black moves this rook, say, somewhere here, then white has the option of playing c8 knight mate, which is allowed because black's king cannot run to e6 because of white's queen. Rook anywhere would allow the same thing. If knight b6 trying to guard the checkmate, then queen takes b6 is checkmate. And black has no silly rook takes e7 stuff because the rook is in the way of the king. Therefore, the knight is not pinned. So those were the puzzles for this half week. 2 more minimalist puzzles followed by 1 maxed out puzzle. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you enjoyed my content, please like and subscribe. And that'll be all for today. Bye!